We are interrupting your regularly scheduled programming for an Audit 9 News special report. Hello, and thank you for joining us for this special edition of Audit 9 News. I'm Phillip Melnarik.
And I'm Charlie Gilmore.
Tonight's top story, Quantum Corporation. What really happened behind closed doors? Tonight, we'll have a sit-down interview with Shady Sally, a former controller at Quantum, who shares some insider details into what really occurred within the organization. Our field reporter, Marisa Curtin, reports to us live from New York City, outside of a PwC office, with details about the accounting firm that provided assurance services for Quantum Corporation.
As part of this special edition of Audit 9 News, we will also provide you with a live look at sports and weather. But first, onto our top story.
So, you might be wondering, what is Quantum Corporation and what did they do to earn themselves a spot on tonight's show?
Quantum Corporation is a company headquartered in San Jose, California, that specializes in data storage and management solutions. From financial institutions to casinos to government, Quantum offers highly secure storage options for all areas of both public and private sectors. It has recently come to light that Quantum Corporation has materially misstated their financial statements for multiple periods, spanning from the fourth quarter of 2015 all the way to the second quarter of 2018.
How did they get away with it for so long? Being such a large publicly traded company, you would think their auditors would have caught it. Why did it take so long for someone to catch these misstatements?
Live from the Big Apple is our field reporter, Marisa Curtin, to answer some of these questions and shed some light on the audit situation that occurred during those years at Quantum Corporation. Over to you, Marisa.
Thank you, Charlie. I am here live in New York City, standing outside of a PwC office, the accounting firm that provided audit services to Quantum during their years of financial misstatements. As an auditor, the main goal is to protect the interests of the public. While that may have been PwC's intent, they unfortunately failed to do so. There are multiple ways for these auditors to detect the material misstatements performed by Quantum Corporation, and we will dive a little bit deeper into that right now. PwC failed to do an in-depth check of physical inventory and compare the count to inventory list to test completeness. Additionally, the auditors failed to do a thorough enough test to check for the existence of inventory by using count sheets to count Quantum's inventory. The issue with Quantum's case was a problem with recording revenues in the wrong time period. PwC might have seen this issue if they had performed a better sales cutoff test to catch sales that were being recorded incorrectly. Quantum's accounting staff was not trained on how to properly record revenue while the company was using techniques such as bill and hold transactions and the use of third-party warehouses and customers. Another red flag that PwC should have noticed was the high accounting staff turnover ratio. Auditors should have at least questioned management and accounting staff to help explain the complications occurring at the time. After surveying the staff, PwC auditors may have noticed the lack of proper training and complicated revenue recognition techniques Quantum was using. Quantum's own internal auditors finally caught on to the revenue recognition problems and the lack of internal controls and reported the material misstatements to the SEC in 2019. In 2019, Quantum changed auditors from PwC to Armanio, who is still their auditor today. PwC could have done a better quality job following auditing standards, such as AS 1101 Audit Risk, AS 2301 Auditor's Response to Risk and Material Misstatements, and with estimated surrounding expected revenues and returns. I hope this field report clarified what PwC could have done better during their years as Quantum's auditors to prevent future mistakes from being made. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Marisa. Next, we will get the inside scoop on Quantum's side of things. Our own reporter, Hannah Rosanova, had the privilege of sitting down with a former controller at Quantum, who at this time prefers to be called by their code name, Shady Sally, and have their face blurred to protect their identity. That interview next, after a clip from our sponsor.
Now back to the interview. Enjoy.
We are here with the one and only Shady Sally. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for having me, Hannah. What questions do you have for me? What was it like working for Quantum? What was the environment like and how are the people? It was stressful. It seemed like everything anyone did was never good enough. We were always getting pushed to improve the numbers, but were never offered any real solutions on how to improve them. It was a tough place to work. Explain your position at Quantum, just so everyone can get an idea of what a controller does. I was basically in charge of overseeing the daily operations with regards to accounting. I oversaw payroll, accounts receivable, and any related departments. Wherever the company wanted to head financially, I was basically in charge of any integral financial decisions we made. That leads me to my next question. Why did Quantum use unusual revenue recognition methods from 2015 to 2018? There were two reasons why management had pressured us to increase revenues. First, our demand was decreasing dramatically for some of our products. This caused our revenues to fall from $1.1 billion in 2007 to $553 million in 2014. Secondly, we had an investor that pressured us to meet specific revenue targets. In order to do so, we had to use some tricks to try and meet our stretch targets. We would have lost 2 board seats if we didn't meet revenue targets. What methods were used? We used third-party channel partners to place stocking orders to build their inventory. We offered pre-buy deals that did not close until later periods, but were recorded in current periods. And we offered nice and juicy return side deals that intended past the return date specified in the contracts. We also used FOB shipping point as our revenue recognition policy. Post-delivery obligations such as shipping inventory to third-party warehouses created problems with pre-recording revenue even though the obligation had not been met. Wow, but what else would we expect from Shady Sally and her management team? Anyways, was the accounting staff aware and trained on how to correctly record revenues under those conditions? Unfortunately, they were not able to correctly record revenues based on our revenue recognition policy. The combo of unprepared and undertrained staff, along with confusing sale agreements, created a ticking time bomb for Quantum. What about the internal controls? Did management adjust internal controls to incorporate improper revenue recognition? No, we had poor internal controls surrounding revenue recognition. We did not understand at the time that our controls were insufficient. When did you find out about the revenue misstatements? We conducted an internal review and reported our issue to the SEC. We had to pay $1 million in fines. Don't tell the SEC, but I think we got off easy. That's pocket change for us. We are still living large. Thanks for Quantum's perspective on the issues.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that little interview. Definitely an interesting perspective. Next, we will get a quick look on both sports and weather for concluding today's broadcast. Over to you, Jackie Moon, for a quick look at sports. Thanks, Charlie. We are sent insider footage of Quantum's corporate athletic teams. Let's take a look. Wow, now that was embarrassing. It looks like their teams are struggling as much as their internal controls. Back to you.
Thank you for the interesting take on sports. Now a live look at the weather and what we have in store for the next week. Over to Phil in the Weather Center. Thanks, Phil. The system we're tracking is going to be bringing some extremely high temperatures for the first couple days of the week. High temperatures make people do irrational things like commit fraud. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for a swim. So after our thousands of degrees of temperatures on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see some snow on Wednesday, a little more snow on Thursday, and we're going to round out the week with more snow. I'll step out of the way so you can get a view of the 5-day. That's all for weather. Back to you in the studio. Thanks, Phil. Interesting little bit you added to the end there.
That will be all for sports and weather. Thank you for tuning in to a special edition of Audit 9 News, where we do the digging so you don't have to. Have a good night, and remember, fraud is fun.
This has been an Audit 9 News special report.